to today's Lit Sock, and Megan is going to be talking about the gender data gap. So I'll pass on to you. Thank you very much, Megan.
Thank you. So, the gender data gap is basically the whole concept for this book. And it's a very wonderful book written by an even wonderful woman. She's very prominent in the feminism society, and she's done lots of campaigns. Her most recent one was the Jane Austen on the £5 note. So she went through the campaign, got it to government, and that was successful. So this is just a little bit about her. And this book is her second, but she is writing two more follow-ups, a sister book to Invisible Women to further develop her approach to the subject, and a book that's maybe not quite what her readers are used to, but it seems to be a very promising start. So I think it might be easier first to explain exactly what the gender data gap is. And she quite lovely explains it in her very opening chapter. And I think this quote very much encapsulates what she is trying to approach. And my favourite bit about this is it's not generally malicious or even deliberate, because she very much explores the concept, but in a way that doesn't blame anyone. So it's not men's fault, it's not society's fault, but it is a problem that needs to be fixed. So the whole book is given examples about this gap and how she believes is best to probably kind of approach the gap and how it should be explored and very much closed to a minimum. So in her opening chapter, as well as describing what the gap is, she explores why we have this gap. So it explains that the typical male life is mostly what the data is based on, because we have centuries worth of data and ways of life that have to be reversed in order to close the gap and have an equal society. So my two favourite examples from the book, they are quite very different from each other, and it's very much a good example of how the difference is shown in the book. And the first one is that 47% of women are more likely to be seriously injured in car accidents because test dummies are based off the male body and where they'd be sat in the car. So women typically, you could say, sit further forward in the car, so they are more likely to be injured. And another one, which I thought was quite shocking actually, was that it only became legal in 1993 in the US for women to be included in clinical trials. So before then, all the research done on diabetes, heart failure, and I think it was lung cancer was all based off male data and male clinical trials. So it's quite important awareness that she's raised in her book that show maybe the gap is quite relevant still. So not only does she explore the gap and what we should be really focusing on is how we should be closing it to make the world a fairer, more safer place for everyone. And her first approach is algorithms. So most algorithms are written by men and specialized for all of mankind, but really there should be two because the world is split between male and female. And secondly, she writes a lot about the representation of women in politics and media and quite literally everywhere that there needs to be representation, that there should be a woman present when necessary, really. So, like recently in America, they did a debate on whether female products should be free or not, and only 1 out of the 10 representatives was female. The rest were white males. So she clearly points out the obvious, but in a way that makes you think maybe there is something here, maybe we should be doing something. And lastly, she puts a lot of emphasis on the way of thinking, and not just for males and the people that are maybe creating this gap, but on females as well. So it's seeing things through the female perspective, but also how seeing it like that could impact men. So making it equal so that there's equal like sides to the argument. So that is very well written in her book. She, after every point she makes, she's like, this needs to be fixed and this is how we could do it. She doesn't just set out all these problems that are wrong with the world. She really encompasses how they could be changed and why they need to be changed. It's a very well-rounded book, so she doesn't focus just on one thing. And one of my favourite quotes from the book is, "There is a better way, and it's a pretty simple one. We just increase female representation in all spheres of life." And I think it really sums up her entire book, because she wants not only equality to come soon, but she wants it to be everywhere, not just in the places that she's mentioned in the book or what we see on the media. It needs to be everywhere. So whilst I was doing my bit of research for the presentation, I came across some very inspiring articles and some Instagram pages. So the first one is the UN Woman, and on the author's blog, she actually quotes the UN Women and their rights quite a lot. So it's a very inspirational and informative page. Not only spreads awareness on what is currently happening, but what they are actually doing to achieve this difference. And the articles here actually are written by the author, and they're very much ways of thinking differently. So the Wired interview is well, she writes it herself, but it comes across as a point of view that everyone shares. So it's not just she's writing on behalf of like the female population, and the others are also mentioned in her blog, which, as you probably guessed, I'm quite obsessed with. But they're very much inspirational and very informative. And that is the end.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely fascinating. So well done to Megan. Thank you so much for being brave and sharing with us your thoughts. I just, that was really fascinating. Do you know the thing that really got me, and I've only just realised it, is that your thing about the phone. My phone, I can't hold my phone properly. I had no idea. Does anybody else have that same problem?
Yeah. Do you know what I also have? I get really distressed by my kitchen, because I'm 5'1.5", 5'2", and all the cabinets I can't reach above the first layer. It's so frustrating. It's like this is my kitchen. I even designed this, and I specifically asked for them to lower the cabinets, builders, and they did, and I still can't reach them. The entire world is set up for tall people or men. It's incredibly frustrating.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. I had the same issue with my kitchen, Miss Birkinshaw, that it's just too high up. So when I'm cutting, I'm like this, not like
I can special share.
Oh,
I have to go on my tiptoes to put the glasses, and sometimes I just have to get Mr. Birkinshaw to do it because I can't reach the very top.
Does
The trouble
anybody
is
else?
now my twins take the chair and they use it to climb and reach the fridge and help themselves to things.
So yeah, Megan, I just wanted to say thank you. That was just really fascinating, and I actually haven't read this book, so I feel compelled to do so now. And the other thing that really struck me and was actually made me just feel a bit sick, really, was about the clinical trials. I don't know if anybody else felt that as well, that in America that they're not didn't include women until 1993. That's absolutely bonkers. Yeah, that just makes no sense whatsoever. So that was really, really shocking. I don't know if anybody else had any questions that they would like to ask to Megan at all.
Did the author speak about Wikipedia at all and how, like, the kind of demographic of most of the editors?
Yeah, so the author has a blog based off of the book that she publishes like each week, and there's like a whole blog post based on how editors of the websites and media, how they all are majority male and how they try and give male perspectives on female problems.
Interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, that is. Have we got any other questions that anybody would like to ask?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yeah.
It was about the demographics also, and I was wondering, is disproportional, number one, about how women are treated and the statistics showing the inequality that women face on a regular basis, let alone every single day. But I was wondering, in that book, does it incorporate the women from BAME backgrounds, like Black, Asian, minority, ethnic? Because it is really significant that, as you said, that white men are controlling most of the statistics, I suppose. No, more of the experiments and on regular basis how they perceive the world. But these women are also not getting included. We can see it in basic things like fashion. There's not a massive proportion of ethnic minorities coming into that, and also only recently has there been, we can see it even in things like makeup, there's not enough shades for other women. And so, like, I agree so much that lots of women struggle every day on rights like these. So yeah, I would love to read that book as well. So yeah.
I have
Thank
copies.
you. Oh, Dr. Webb, promote. Well, actually, in that case, is it Raphael? Do you want a copy? So, Miss
That'd be great. Yeah.
Dr. Webb, do you want to post a copy? That'd be amazing, and I'll wait. I'll be patient because I've got a massive stack of books that need reading. And did anybody else want to make any comments about what Megan was talking about? Not necessarily a question, but maybe a reaction or reflection.
I think when I was reading on your screen, you put, so 47% women are 47% more likely to be injured in a car accident because the dummies are based on males, which I just thought was quite shocking as well. It was quite upsetting, really, I think.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It really is. Daisy?
I was going to say, I think it's worrying to see how entrenched it is in our society. Like, less women are getting educated, less women are getting healthcare, less women are getting those jobs. And before you fix all of those chains, you don't fix the major issue. And I think it's just sad that society has been manufactured that way, in a way where it is so difficult to change it.
What would you do, Daisy? What would be your solution?
I think education is the key to all of it. I think if you teach girls at a young age that they're the same, you teach them that they deserve education just as much. You teach them that throwing like a girl isn't a bad thing. Like, I know a lot of people say that, but they do create stereotypes. They do create these ideals. And I think when you start doing that, you get more female politicians, you get more females in certain industries that are male dominated. You just need to teach girls they belong there just as much as anyone else.
Interesting. Thank you, Daisy. Phoebe, what did you think?
Going back to the test dummies in car accidents, my sister went on a first aid training course, I think last year, and with the Red Cross, and they told her that it's something like 50% of people, like when they get injured and just another passerby is phoning the ambulance and they get told to do CPR, they don't know how to do it on a woman because they've never been taught how to do it. Like, they don't know where the heart is. They know where it is on a man. They don't know where it is on a woman, and they don't know like what to do with like breasts or pregnant women. They just don't know how to cope. So I think it's something like 30% more women die from cardiac arrest than men because of that just one reason. I think that's so sad.
Oh my gosh. Do you know, I'd never thought about that, Phoebe. You're so right. When we all do, well, all the teachers here probably have done first aid, and we've all done first aid, I'm sure, like at some point. You are right that the Annie is flat chested. That's such a good point. Actually,
I would an Annie. I think it's so
I know.
weird.
And pregnancy as well.
Yeah.
Because the last time I did one of those courses, I was pregnant with twins. And actually, that opens up a level of discussion that I've never had on first aid before. Because actually, even things like the recovery position are totally different in a pregnant woman. Dealing with choking in a pregnant woman is completely different. But it hadn't ever occurred to me to ask about that, ever.
I was on a CCF course, and I was running the first aid because I have basic first aid training. And while the year 9s were doing something, I asked the first aid leader, who was like properly first aid trained, I said, what would you do for a pregnant woman? And he was like, I don't know. And I was like, and I just thought, you're first aid trained, you are teaching other people, and you don't know what to do with a pregnant woman. I just thought that was absolutely insane.
That's worrying.
Yeah.
Ms. Burns, you pop your camera on. Did you want to make a comment?
No, I was actually just saying hello because I'd been so horribly distant and just staring at everybody instead of contributing. But excellent talk, and I've read a lot of extracts from this book and can thoroughly understand where everyone's coming from with their concerns that the world is just driven in a male-dominated way.
Thank you, Ms. Burns. Dr. Webb, you got your mic on. Did you want to make a comment at all?
I'll share a personal thing with you. My first professional post after all the training in 1988, I was appointed at the same time as a male colleague to the same job, apparently advertised at the same scale. And a few months in, we were chatting and salary came up. They had moved him 2 scales up at the appointment process, even though we had the same qualifications, level of experience. And the only thing we could both put it down to is the fact that I was a single person and he was married with a child on the way. And because the employer had discretion and it wasn't transparent, they're able to make whatever decision they wish. I mean, these days, what I think is brilliant is where people are willing to share with each other what my salary is. You know, the more transparency there is, the less manipulation there can be.
Gosh, wow. Yes, Raphael, did you want to respond?
Yeah, I did. I was really interested by Miss Webb's point. It's actually significant because I lost my train of thought now. The salary difference is completely different, and also if you go to let's say hospitals and things like that now, we can see that women are generally thrown aside. My mum's a GP, and every time that she has pushed forwards in a career, something's always slowed her down. And it's really interesting that it always tends to be women that are less supported in these sort of systems. And so I was really intrigued by Dr. Webb's point, because it actually does happen, and it's a real life scenario that we have to change.
I'm just going to make a comment, and I don't know whether the female staff with children might agree with me, that actually when you have children as a woman and you come back to work, you are perceived in a different way. And I can remember somebody saying, this person's left now, but they said to me, I was back full time. So Lily, my daughter, she went into nursery when she was 5 months old, and I came back to work and I was working full time. And I can remember him saying to me, this colleague, just said, "Oh, I didn't realize you worked full time. You've got a baby, haven't you?" And questioned why I was in full time. And yeah, and just like I wonder whether that question would be asked of my husband, who was back at work full time as normal. And so I just think it's just so entrenched. I think that was the word that Daisy used. It just seems so entrenched, doesn't it? That kind of viewpoint, and it's not really geared towards women and female experience. I think, was it Isabel? Did you have your hand up? You put it down. So I don't know whether.
I didn't mean to.
Oh, okay.
Accident.
I put mine up.
Yeah, sorry, go on, Miss Burns.
If that's all right. I just wanted to say, slightly off tangent, but very relevant, how lovely it was at the inaugural ceremonies yesterday, seeing women take the lead so much, and with that fantastic poet, just being absolutely outstanding, and just it kind of not even really being referenced there, but how female led the whole ceremony was. I just thought it was really, really terrific and moving. I loved the poem. I hope you all watched it. It was, if you haven't, you must. It was really outstanding. So that's kind of just what.
Thank you. And Daisy, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, just quickly, kind of going off what you were saying about children. As like a kind of a young woman as well, a lot of people ask you whether you're thinking of having kids when you're older. And even in groups of girls, you kind of find that if you step back and say, I'm not sure, or actually, I don't think that's for me, there's that immediate judgment there. And especially like I've had conversations with my friends who are guys, and they kind of go, but every girl wants kids. Like they all want kids. You're full kids. And I was like, no, we can have kids. It's a choice we can have. But I think there's a lot of judgment around that. It's like, that's your purpose, have them. And that's still there, and that worries me.
Yeah, you're so right. Daisy, did you want to reply to that?
Yeah, literally this morning, one of my teachers asked me if I was planning on getting married, and that she hoped that I was planning on getting married, or at least having a long-term relationship in the future. And I was like, what? Why?